to start off asking, Penelope, I wanted to start off asking you about the development of the story and the script and what that experience was like for you, really coming up with the idea for the film.
Well, I always knew that I wanted to write. I've always been really into comedy myself. So I wanted to write a really fun kind of feel good movie, which I think at this point now is especially time appropriate considering that things have been it's been a slow year for a lot of people and a sad one. So I think this is the perfect kind of film to kind of come out, especially right now. I'm from New York, so I moved here a little over 3 years ago. And I'm embarrassed to say that me and my roommate at the time always thought going to San Diego would be a road trip because we had literally no concept about how far San Diego was from LA. So 2.5 hours later, we were there in the car and we realized it wasn't much of a road trip, but we kept going back and we met so many really awesome people, so many characters. And I think that really inspired me, just sort of a fish out of water story, because as an East Coaster moving to the West Coast, there's a little bit of culture shock there because it is very different. And I think just all of these little kind of vignettes of all of these fun little experiences that I had, and then obviously with creative license, embellished on them and added fun little kind of characters and plot twists. So that was what inspired it.
Mm-hmm. And then Laura and Jen, I also wanted to ask you both also, at what point did you sign on to star in the film, and what did you both like about your characters and the story overall as well?
Actually, I read for a different role at the table read. And I was just kind of going to the table read as a favor to Penelope. I thought I was just, reading to read a part, at a table read out loud so she could hear the script out loud. And then she ended up giving me a call later and asking me if I would play Brooklyn. And I remember reading the script at the table read and thinking in my head, I'm so right for Brooklyn. I'm for Brooklyn. But I obviously didn't say that. It's for project. And then, then she ended up calling me and it was all kind of like kismet. Jenna was just always was, always will be.
I also on the table read. I was friends, helping friends out, reading scripts. This is so much fun. I read for Hannah and, and then, we got the call that Penelope was like, well, I love what you did and would love for you to do this film. And so, it was kind of a no-brainer. It just the words come to life and are just so funny. I mean, I thought the script was just so funny when I read it. And when we were at the table read, and I think that Hannah is I mean, she's just ridiculous. And I loved playing a reality star and from Jersey. It was just, again, I think in a really strange time, it's just really fun to make people laugh. And that's really what we did on set the whole time, was just make each other laugh. So
having the most fun ever. And I feel like a female buddy comedy is kind of an untapped market right now. So it kind of just, and it's a great time for this to come out because everybody's, staying home as much as they can and doing a lot of watching and stuff like that. So I think it'll be really fun for them to turn on the TV and see, oh, what's this new female buddy comedy? I haven't seen one of those in a few years,
And speaking of having that female comedy incorporating that into the film, I also wanted to ask you all about that experience and bringing that humor between the two characters to screen, and maybe also if you improv it well on set.
Laura definitely improv more than I did.
Yeah. I know. I keep thinking about the wiener scene, and I should have. There's a scene where I slap her across the face with a hot dog wiener, and that wasn't written down, and I don't know. I just did it, and we only did that. Once was enough.
We really just felt it in the moment, so we went with it.
But I think you guys had a really, really awesome chemistry, especially since you guys met on the table read or during the table read. And I think that was, for people watching, people thought that Jenna and Laura had known each other for years. And I mean, I just felt like the connection between the two of them, it feels like they've been best friends for a long, long time. And when you watch the film, I think that really shines through. And they just had a really, really great chemistry between the two of them, which I think plays into their relationships with a lot of the other characters.
Jenna and I got really lucky because, I mean, truly the juice was in the writing. Like, you did such a good job developing their relationship. So like, you know, and then the fact that Jenna and I just like naturally clicked and got along, like it was just a beautiful, just come together thing. And it doesn't always work out that way. So I just felt like, you know, we were really blessed to have everything just kind of aligned that way.
It's true. It's like, you know, when there's good writing, like you don't really have to, you can just kind of say the words and they kind of speak for you. And with this whole film, I felt like, you know, it was very easy to kind of play off each other and then, you know, just say the words because they were already just quite funny, and the situations we were in and circumstances were also ridiculous. And like, there was a sense of like, as each character, you know, that we met along the way, like Eric Nelson and, you know, Alex and everybody, like there's a sense of like, they were like, this is campy, right? Like, this is ridiculous. I was like, yes, go with that. And like, Laura and I kind of found our little like ways to ground it and make it funny. And then these characters also like just made it more ridiculous and kind of elevated it in a way. So that was really fun for us to like experience all the other characters that we got to meet.
Totally.
Yeah, Penelope, I also wanted to ask you about directing the film as well, and what that experience was like for you, going from writing the script into directing as well.
Well, this was my debut feature as a writer director, so I was super excited to be able to shoot it. I've done a bunch of short films, and I studied film directing. I got my master's at NYU at NYU Tisch in film directing. And I had known for a long time that I was very different with my vision in terms of my classmates, in terms of the kind of films I wanted to make. And I really do want to make comedy films that don't take themselves too seriously. And I think filmmaking is so much not just about the end result, but about the process to get there. And to what these ladies were saying before, you know, I think that part of the reason why the film is so much fun to watch is because it was a lot of fun to direct, and it was a lot of fun to watch all these characters come together. And I really, really believe that the fact that it was so much fun to make, and the process was fun, that you can tell in the end result. And I'm just incredibly grateful that I had this opportunity as my first film to work with such awesome people.
Also, I wanted to ask you all about if you had the chance to maybe rehearse with each other at all, or what was the experience like of really building the characters' relationship, maybe before and during production as well.
I mean, ultimately, obviously on an indie film, you're on a very tight schedule, on a very tight, you know, really quick days. But we were able to, because of the table read, because we kind of we're familiar with it, like we built it along the way, which was really fun and interesting. But we did obviously rehearse the scenes before, and while we were getting ready, Laura and I and Penelope would kind of talk about what, you know, what felt right for the scene, for the characters. And you know, it was a really great process because it was so collaborative. I'd be like, I feel like I'd say this instead. And Penelope was like, not very precious with like anything to like that. If it helped, like she was like, great, change it. Let's do that instead. So really collaborative and really fun that way. And yeah.
I think the only thing that really took a lot of rehearsing was our fight scene. We really had to like get that down because it was quite a scene. So there was a lot of like tussling around and hair pulling, and I think that was probably the thing that we like had to put most of our energy into, like rehearsing. Otherwise we would just kind of like be able to bounce lines off each other while we were in hair and makeup, you know.
I think also just a lot of in comedy in general, I don't really love to over rehearse actors, just because I think it loses a lot of the freshness and the spark between the characters. So honestly, and I felt like this a lot, especially with this film, but some of the best takes were the first and second takes, because they were so fresh and everybody was kind of like, I can't believe she just said that, that like, you know, that it kind of, it added this really authentic, really cool kind of vibe to it. So while certain things technically, obviously, yeah, we have to really rehearse them. Other than these ladies are professionals, as is everyone else in the film, you know, no one needs me to give them a line reading. I think it's really more just about the chemistry and the fact that everybody knew what we wanted to execute in the scene, what the purpose of the scene was, and to just have fun, like I said before.
Yeah.
And also, like speaking also of the fight scene and just like the physical comedy as well. What did you all really like about those experiences and maybe creating the physicality for the roles as well, and that fight sequences in particular as well overall?
Well, the fight scene was really actually a lot of fun. We had probably the most fun. It was so late at night, but we were in like what was it, Encinitas or Escondido?
Escondido.
Yeah.
And
it was very cold.
It was very cold, but it was so much fun screaming at each other because at that point, you know, we had worked on the film for almost a month at that point. So like, you know, our rapport was really good with each other. We had like I had just the most fun watching Laura like with mascara dripping down her face, and she's like, "You don't look like messed up at all. I don't understand."
I also loved when Jenna rips the extension out of Laura's hair, you know, triumphantly as she's there. It was great.
Like,
the other crazy thing that was, it was its own character was my spray tan.
oh yeah.
that was shot over a couple of different production days, and that definitely took some time.
I know that was Jenna's favorite part of the film as well, if you'd like to talk about that more.
I said enough. In that makeup chair for like
oh my god, and then
like,
getting out of it. It was just crazy. It's crazy.
Like an entire pack of makeup wipes.
I think that will forever be the photo that I will post of you every year on your birthday until the end of time, Jenna.
Thank you. I just want to be reminded of that time, you know. No, but the fight was definitely
now we can laugh about it. The pain.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But the fight was my favorite, definitely my favorite.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun because I mean, once we got the steps of, you know, like how we're supposed to step and roll, and like once we got that little stuff down, then we kind of just did our own thing, and like it worked out. It worked out so nicely, and I remember we were both like, oh God, how are we going to do this? You know what I mean? And it ended up just like flowing perfectly.
Yeah.
And also I wanted to ask you all about getting to film on location. What was that experience like of figuring out where the movie was going to be shot and actually being in the real locations as well?
I mean, it was awesome to be able to shoot between here and San Diego. You know, because we were such a small team and it was a fairly low budget film, me and my producing partner Pierce and the DP Arlen, we would go out and location scout, and some of the places that we found, we were just like the theater, we were like, this is perfect. Like we just knew the second that we looked at certain places, we're like, this is the perfect place for the Law and Order parody musical, or like the house in the Hollywood Hills. We were like, this is the perfect house that two people that age can definitely not afford. You know, you know, like the house in Friends, how everyone's always like, how did Rachel and them even live there? You know, there's a layer of camp and a layer of, you know, believability, the like suspension of disbelief. And I think that's a lot of the fun of the film is like the locations play into that a lot. You know, I mean, I think it looks beautiful even when you guys, even on those streets in San Diego, when you guys are walking around. I mean, visually it looks really stunning, and it was really cool. So I think that the locations tie a lot into the film, and we took our time finding those.
Yeah, you guys did a great job with the locations. The hippie commune I thought was,
oh my God,
such a find. I know. And
that was very cool.
That you end up with the younger girls that are like supposed to be the younger, that like,
oh yeah, the ranch.
I don't know why, I just loved that so much. I thought it was so cool.
I think the lighting and all of like the visuals inside of that gas station too, like it just made it so like it pops visually, but it also seems so bleak. And I think that's kind of a lot of the film too, is like the girls are so colorful and edgy and stylized and campy looking and over the top. And then they're kind of contrasted in these sort of bleak locations that kind of escalate as the film goes on. So you have that real dichotomy between these girls with tons of personality and then these sort of sterile visuals like jail, which I think is really funny, you know?
I loved working in the jail. That was really fun.
I know.
We're in prison.
You're having a full-blown meltdown. I love it.
You're like, we're not in prison, Jenna. You're in jail.
Yeah, it's jail. We're okay.
I think prison may be up there with Semper Fi.
Yeah, it was really fun to actually be in San Diego at the end of the shoot, you know, the culmination of the film and like talking about San Diego and then actually getting to be there, which is a whole location on its own. But we really had fun being there as well to finish it out and to wrap up the film.
Also, I wanted to ask about the costumes as well, like you just mentioned, and what that experience was like to really creating the looks for the characters as well overall.
Well, I mean, my favorite movies are all movies from the 90s. I am a huge 90s fan, so I love, you know, all the costumes from like Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead and Romy and Michelle and Empire Records. And like, to me, characters lived within the world. Like their costume was part of the character. And it's like, to me, I knew that I wanted to have Jenna and Laura wear something that was like so fish out of water and so kind of Laura's character more so, but Jenna's as well. I mean, the spikes and everything. It was, you know, they look so fish out of water and the outfits almost are characters unto themselves. And the fact that the entire movie, basically, they're wearing these same ridiculous outfits in the middle of San Diego where most people are wearing a t-shirt and jeans. I mean, that was not lost on me. And I think it creates something really fun. And I would wear a lot of the stuff in that movie.
Yeah.
Would you wear the juicy suit with the fanny pack and the hat?
Probably.
You know, maybe. When I'm you for Halloween next year, I will wear it.
Oh,
or actually Tisdale, depending on whomever, you know. But I'm not going to lie. I actually have the green puffy coat from the movie in my closet. And the jacket that Jenna wears is actually my jacket, which I love so much that I was like, we're putting this on her. And I still wear it now, but now I see it as the movie jacket. So I almost feel cooler, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Tell everyone you bought it after the movie came out.
Exactly.
And Penelope, I also wanted to ask you also about producing, like you mentioned, and what was that experience like? Like you also mentioned this being an indie film, just the whole approach to producing as well.
Yeah. So I wrote this feature. It was super ambitious. I had, you know, been talking about it for a while, and thankfully I was able to raise the money to shoot it. We shot it on a shoestring budget. Visually, the film looks like it cost exceptionally more than it did. But what I was really, really lucky and blessed about was that I had a team of creatives, both actors and crew, that really believed in the movie, and they were there because they wanted to be, and they wanted to be a part of something that was collectively really fun. And I think it was really special. I worked with Pierce Cravens, who I've worked with on a few other projects, and we've known each other a long time. And him and I just work really well together in terms of producing and being able to organize everything. But it is a little difficult, you know, like producing, directing, and writing, because it's like once we were actually shooting, it's harder for me to be able to kind of wear all these hats when I'm focusing on, you know, my shot list and being able to, you know, put the film together. So that's why it was really, really great too, to have such a great producing partner who was kind of ready to take the reins when we were shooting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And also I wanted to ask about the film's release coming up and what the process was like of deciding how you wanted to approach releasing it, especially with the pandemic and theaters now just reopening up. What was that experience like of really deciding how to go that route as well?
Well, I mean, obviously this has been a really crazy year, with it's a lot of ups and downs, but I do feel like this film was always meant to come out online or for streaming platforms. I think that they're now, because of the pandemic, I think that there's a huge market for comedy and for movies that feel good and movies that make you feel good. And I wrote this movie as an escape for 90 minutes, so you can have a beer or smoke or whatever your poison is, and you can sit there and you can enjoy it. And it's for people. I think, there's some potty language, but it's pretty age appropriate. And I think the demographic crosses, different, all different ages. So I think that the timing and the release and everything is perfect. It's also just right around the holidays. So a lot of people are home with their families. And it's the perfect kind of movie that you could watch with, your 15-year-old niece or your grandma, as long as she doesn't mind the F word liberally used.
So many F-bombs.
So many.
Okay, I think that was mainly it, but thank you all again for taking the time, and I appreciate it.
Of
Thank
course.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
You're welcome. Thanks again.
Have a good